Hey everyone, Kyle here. Today's video will review how to sketch the graph of an exponential function. As a reminder, exponential functions come in the form y equals a times b to the x power, with a and b being constants, and b being the number with the variable x in the exponent. Keep in mind that b must be a positive number, so it cannot equal 0, and it must also not equal 1. And that's because 0 raised to any power except for 0 is going to be equal to 0, and 1 raised to any power is just equal to 1. So you'd get straight lines for these graphs, not exponential graphs. Now, if we go back and remember the laws of exponents, you might recall that a number raised to the power of 0 is just equal to 1. So the y value when x is equal to 0, if we remember, is the y-intercept, which means that the value a is our y-intercept. Now to graph, we only really need to know 2 points, and then we can just draw the general shape of the graph. Our first point can very easily just be the y-intercept, which is going to be at 0, a. And our second point can be easily found when we just set x equal to 1, which would effectively make the second point at 1, a times b. Now, the last thing we need to note is the asymptote of the graph, which, if you remember from the last section, is always y is equal to 0 for these exponential graphs. And the asymptote will just help guide the end of our graph that is approaching the x-axis, while the other end of our graph is just going to become exponentially steeper. Remember to both show your asymptote on the graph, and just like any other linear or quadratic functions, the graph doesn't stop where you stop, so don't forget to also draw the arrows on the end of your graph to indicate the end behavior and show that the graph is continuing. And now let's get to some practice. So pause the video here and see if you can try these for yourself, and I'll be back to review in, well, whenever you come back. All right, welcome back, and let's go over these problems together. So for number 1, we are given y is equal to 4 times 2.5 to the x power. So 4 is our a value here, and 2.5 is our b value here. So let's start with graphing the y-intercept, which is just going to be our a value, 4. And we can also just graph our asymptote real quick, since that's pretty easy, just at y equals 0. And then we only need one more point to draw this graph. So we'll set x equal to 1, and we'll get 10 as our y value. So we'll graph the point 1, 10. And then we can just draw the general shape of the graph. So it's an exponential curve. And then on the left side, it is approaching the asymptote y equals 0, but it won't actually cross that asymptote. Now for our second graph here, for number 2, we're given that y is equal to -3 times 0.5 to the x power. So again, -3 is our a value here and our y-intercept. And then 0.5 is our b value. So we'll draw the we'll graph the y-intercept first and then draw in the asymptote. And we'll find our second point when x equals to 1 is going to be -1.5. So we'll graph that point as well. And then we'll just draw in the general shape of the curve. So again, on the left side here, this time is increasing exponentially. And then on the right side is just approaching the x-axis or the y equals 0 line. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, if you have any questions, always feel free to let us know. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day. Take care.